A few months back, I made a DIY smokeless fire pit that actually works. And that video went huge. Thanks for making that happen. Today, I'm gonna perfect it. My sister sent me a picture of her fire pit out here at her and my brother-in-law's house. And when I saw it, well, it made me sad. First, let's address a couple of issues that are wrong with their fire pit. Number one, it's way too big to work as a smokeless fire pit. Smokeless fire pits actually work better when they're taller and narrower. Issue number two, these blocks. Yeah, they're pink and they don't like that. So what they've done is got this solid color concrete stain. Yesterday, my sister started rolling this stain out onto these blocks. And as you can see, it kind of works like paint. We'll have to see how this holds up over time. Hopefully it'll work well. I'm gonna go ahead and start laying these out in a suitable size for a smokeless fire pit. And then I'll mark where they go with the shovel and I'll start to dig that up so that I can get it nice and flat. Whew, not gonna lie. That took more effort than I was anticipating. So in the first video, I left one whole brick space to allow air to get in. And on this one, what I've done is just kind of spaced them evenly apart, except for two spots where I left two together. In my previous video, for the fire pit, I used a galvanized ring, and that galvanized ring cost 65 bucks at Tractor Supply. This I ordered from Home Depot, and it's a little more expensive. This was, I think $97 or $99, but hopefully this will simplify the fact that with the other fire pit, I made the top, I cast that with concrete for the cap, and with this, hopefully there's no cap required.
Two hours later.
The pit is ready, the rain has stopped, but the humidity is most high. And I have been defeated because several weeks ago when we happened to be over here, I stacked some of these up and measured to see what size ring I needed to order. So I ordered the ring that is 36 inches on the inside and it's like 42 inches on the outside. And according to everything I had taken pictures of when I was here, that's what size I needed. And now that I've got everything stacked up, I cannot get these bricks to work out to where that size will work. And I'm running out of daylight here and time just because it's getting late and I got a 2-hour drive. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this ring back to our house and I'm gonna modify our fire pit at the house. And then I'm gonna order my sister and brother-in-law a 32-inch ring so that we can make that work for them. Today's video is sponsored by Policy Genius. Kim and I first got life insurance when we started having children, and for me personally, it provides an enormous amount of relief knowing that if something were to happen to me, that Kim and the girls would be well taken care of. With Policy Genius, you can easily compare quotes from over a dozen top insurers all in one place. You can save 50% or more on life insurance by comparing quotes with Policy Genius. You could save $1,300 or more per year on life insurance by using Policy Genius to compare policies. The licensed experts at Policy Genius do not work for the insurance companies. They work for you so you can trust them to help you navigate the shopping and buying process. So how do you get started, you may be wondering? Very simple. All you have to do is head to policygenius.com/hacksman, and within minutes you can work out how much life insurance coverage you need, compare personalized quotes, and find your best price. When you're ready to apply, Policy Genius will handle all of the paperwork and scheduling for free. Policy Genius does not tack on any fees to your insurance quotes, and Policy Genius will never sell any of your information to other companies. Head to policygenius.com/hacksman to get started right now. I've had a few days to recover from my epic failure, but But to be honest with you, my biggest problem was time. Between it being 2 hours away from here and it raining, everything just was against me on that day. So I know I probably could have gotten those blocks to fit, but I just didn't have time while I was there to film. Now that I'm home, I've already removed the caps. Now I'm gonna pull out the galvanized ring. And although I know that that ring is 36 inches, I'm still gonna verify that I've got 36 inches at least in here, and I have 40 inches of space, which is perfect. In my original design, I used a hole saw and cut holes that were approximately 1.5 inches or 1.75 inches. I can't remember exactly, but a lot of people said, hey, maybe you should try smaller holes and do more of them. So guess what? That is exactly what I'm gonna do. I've got a step bit here that goes to 7/8 of an inch. I may go a little bit bigger if I need to. I've got another step bit, but let's try this to begin with. Now, standard tape measures, they don't work too well for curved stuff. If you've got a flexible tape measure, great. If not, a trick I've seen people use, and this is a pretty cool idea, is you take a piece of tape, and in this case, on this fire ring, it's in 4 equal sections. So I can just go from joint to joint and wrap this tape around and just cut it at each seam. And I'll measure where the center of this is. This is 28.5, which makes it 14.25. And I'm just gonna go 2 inches for the center of every hole that I'm gonna drill. Now I can just wrap this from seam to seam, and I'll mark each one off with a piece of chalk. Couple things real quick. I just changed out the bit because originally I was using these Irwin step bits, and I just put in this Milwaukee, and the difference is just amazing. Number one, the Milwaukee step bit is more graduated, so each step is not as pronounced, and it's just way sharper, and it leaves a much cleaner edge. I thought I was gonna have to file these after going through, but with the Milwaukee, I don't even have to file because it leaves a beveled edge. Haha, I stretched it out. I can't believe that. It actually did every single one of these holes with one 5-amp battery. But it struggled on that last hole, but still, that is pretty amazing. I know it goes without saying, but when you get done doing this, make sure you get up all your metal shavings, because if you're like me, especially, and you have little girls and dogs, you don't want them getting these in their feet. Also, you want to make sure you wear safety glasses so you don't get any shards in your eyes. And when you're drilling and if you're supporting with your hand, make sure you don't put your fingers right where the drill bit's going through, because that would be nasty. Okay, let's see how it fits in the fire pit, which it should be just fine. One issue that I did come across, because whenever I originally did this fire pit, it was for the 12-inch tall galvanized ring, and this ring is only 10 inches tall. So I'm just gonna fill this bottom up with some rocks to help fill in that gap. Now, just in case you haven't seen the first video, just remember that the fire pit was built with these retaining wall blocks, and then I left a gap every so often to allow the air to come in, fresh air from the outside, and then that air travels up between the inside ring and the blocks because there's a gap there. And that'll come up, and then that air will then come out of these holes. Now, it did on the other design, hopefully it will on this one. One thing I see right off the bat that I was hoping would work out is that because this has a lip on it that goes over, as opposed to the galvanized ring that has no lip, that I wouldn't need the caps on here. But as you can see here, these gaps between the blocks is way too big, so any air that comes down in here and travels up is just gonna come out of these gaps, and it's not gonna work. to provide fresh oxygen to the fire at the top. So that means I've got to use my caps. The good news is they're already made. It's a cool 105 degrees Fahrenheit. Perfect weather for a fire. Let's test this out. One of the best fire starters is, hold on, belly button lint. Now, if you don't have this much belly button lint, you can of course use lint from your dryer. I know you're dying for me to strike a ferro rod, but too bad. Magic purple lighter it is. Make sure you put enough logs on the fire because you've got to heat the outside ring to make it work. As you can see when you first start it, it's gonna smoke. For people wondering about radiant heat, I can barely get to this fire right now. It is so hot. So does this fire pit work better than the original design? Well, that's hard to say. It all depends on what you want. Frankly, it works pretty much exactly the same, although this one cost about 30 bucks cheaper to make. One reason you might want to do your fire pit like this is simply because it's a cleaner look. It has that nice black finish with the smaller holes all around versus the galvanized, which is starting to discolor. That doesn't really bother me that much, and they work basically just the same. You can see the smoke rolling around inside the fire pit there, but almost none of it leaves the actual fire pit.